He's big. He's bad. He's the Insurmountable Rulk. Rawr. Actually, I do not know if this character has a moniker or not yet, like the Incredible Hulk, but that'd be a pretty cool one. He also happens to be a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. This is the Marvel Select Red Hulk I'm talking about, aka the Rulk. And this is basically just a repaint or slightly retooled normal Hulk. Right, the whole face shot there. I always love the Marvel Select packaging. In fact, I usually feel a little bit bad when I'm removing a figure from it just because everything looks so freaking hot. Especially because we even have like little comic panels in the background here, which you don't see with a lot of other toy companies. The one difference, though, is that they don't provide as much backstory in these characters just because they assume that you know who they are already. But if you don't know who he is... Actually, I don't want to spoil that surprise. Originally, when he came out, it was a big mystery, but since then they have revealed it. I haven't followed the story too closely, but I've loved the character design, and I love the few appearances that I did see him in. Especially because he's a Hulk that uses guns, which I mean is just crazy. And here's a better look at that really sick packaging. As you can see, it's just a whole collage of various panels. Has a lot of images of him, including a really cool looking headshot. Also, it comes with the usual pamphlet showing other offerings from the line. I do want to pick up the Sabretooth at some point. Probably the only one in that lot that I'm interested in. On the back we have a whole bunch of the mini-mates, which I'm not terribly keen on. The Rulk comes with a rather large, rather flimsy base. It's also only painted to one side. I mean, just feel this, it just really bends. In the case of a character like the Rulk, you know, I could literally expect this thing would just snap under his weight. But it does seem to hold him kind of well just there, but over time. As for the Rulk himself, in case you ever wonder why I don't unbox a lot of stuff, you know, just on camera, it's because of these damn things. There were like, I think it was 7 or 8 of these on him. And each one took forever to get off. I mean, the clips were like kind of pushed in at the end, and it was like, God, I couldn't even get the stupid things off. I was just gonna cut them, but they're kind of cool for special effects. But yeah, almost hulked up myself there just with all that packaging aggravation. Also, I should mention that this is kind of like an impact crater or whatever, on like a roadside, in case you were trying to figure out what the base is supposed to be. As for Red Hulk himself, this is a incredibly sick figure. He's also an incredibly large figure. He's a little over 9.5 inches tall, just measured him. And you know, the Marvel Selects in general do run at a slightly bigger scale than the Marvel Legends, which, for some stupid reason, I don't have any out right now. I usually have a Cyclops on hand, but this is the DC Universe Classics Nightwing. He is 6.5 inches tall, just to give you an idea of scale. Of course, you can do that just as well as with a ruler, but, you know, he's barely up to the waist here, and, you know, he's kind of typical, or somewhat typical for a Marvel Legends size, just to give you a rough idea. Although the Rulk is a really large figure and somewhat heavy, he does feel kind of light, so I suspect that the upper torso here is in fact hollow, which that sort of confirms it. Also, the joints, really incredibly stiff. This is the second Marvel Select I've unboxed so far. Before that, I reviewed the Dr. Doom, which I was really impressed with, but this one, the joints aren't really doing much. It's just really annoying me. Takes a lot of pressure to get it to do anything. I guess they probably will loosen up over time. But, you know, it's just a huge aggravation. As you can see, we have an incredible amount of detail here. Tons of veins bulging all over the place. And then on the back, the shoulder blades here just positively massive. You know, there's a huge amount of difference between that and lower back. The pants and stuff all are made of a soft rubbery plastic at the edges here. fact, the entire lower portion here is this, so I guess it really simulates the fabric a lot better, although, you know, I wouldn't expect jeans to be that malleable. Oh, actually this is the third Marvel Select I've unboxed. I also unboxed the Thor, which again was a pretty cool figure, but I guess it's just the joints on these larger figures that might be a little bit tougher. Let me just give you a quick run through. We have a ball jointed head, which feels pretty loose, really good range of motion, you know, really responsive. We have a rotating wrist, you know, again, works pretty well. Ball jointed elbow, which is a pretty good choice for larger figures just because the double pins don't work too well. No bicep articulation, obviously. Then we go straight to the shoulder joint here, which frankly isn't as responsive as I would like. I mean, it does the rotation pretty well, but it takes a lot of pressure to get it going up or down. Part of that might just be to the sculpt, where it looks like it's kind of fraying. I don't know, it's kind of weird. No waist articulation, kind of a downer. We have a sort of ball jointed hip here, but mostly just goes out to the side. As you can see, it doesn't have like any point of rotation up here at the thigh, so it can only really go one direction, kind of like the Marvel Universe ones. Ball jointed knee, which will rotate and then go in and out, and then we have a pin jointed ankle here. So, you know, serviceable articulation. It will do the job, but I mean, not tremendously well, just because the joints are incredibly stiff. I can kind of understand that if it was just for like the lower body, because given the weight of this character, he does need a certain amount of stiffness to keep it from toppling over, but the arms is kind of weird. I don't know, I guess you might have the same problem as well, where I mean, some parts are just heavier than others. All in all, this is a very cool figure on the merits of sculpt and paint. In terms of articulation, though, he is kind of shaky, you know. I mean, he kind of does this, what he's supposed to, but even then there's a significant amount of resistance, and you probably won't be able to pose him in as much as you might like. Also, the other kind of downside is it would have been cool if they gave him like an alternate hand for like a gun or something, just because the character has used weapons, so, or at least an open hand that he could have held something in, but I don't know. For what it is, it's a very cool alternate to the Green Hulk, which, you know, a lot of people did like, and I didn't pick it up just because I thought the shading wasn't as cool, but, you know, this definitely has a much cooler look to it, so until next time, folks.